if you've ever seen any video or looked at any coverage of the Montane Spine Race, the what, PJ? The Montane Spine Race in the UK. Like, to even look at it, to even read about it, would leave me out of breath. But guess what? There's a Corkman's only gone and won it. His name is Eoin Keith, and he joins me. Hi, Eoin.
It's actually Ian, believe it or not, despite the spelling, but there you go.
All right, so is he okay? It's Ian spelled as Owen. All right, well, is he?
That's right.
Gotcha.
Everyone in Cobh knows that one.
All right, Ian. Then, tell me about this thing. I mean, as I said, even reading about it, and looking at pictures of it, I'm out of breath. But where does it go from, and what are the conditions involved?
Well, it's the length of the Pennine Way up the spine of England, hence the name. Yeah. So it goes from between Manchester and Sheffield, roughly, up to across the Scottish borders. So it's about 430 kilometres or so in length, with goes through lots of national parks and hills along the way. Mm. And they deliberately hold it in the first or second week of January to get the worst possible conditions, just to make sure Africa's centre, So
it's basically a marathon a day for 10 days.
No, it's non-stop, so it'd be far more than a marathon in a day. So you just run the whole thing non-stop as quickly as you can. So I'm not sure. That's about 10 marathons. So and it tends to be one.
You don't stop and you don't rest.
Yeah, you do stop. The clock's on, so you try and minimise the stops. To the absolute. As little as you can. So, some people do it for a little more leisurely and take longer stops, but the likes of me trying to win the thing, try and keep the stops to an absolute minimum.
Yeah. Now, if you look at the places you go through, and a couple of these places I've been to, like the Peak District, the Yorkshire Dales. Yeah. I mean, beautiful places, but like you said, Yorkshire Dales in the middle of winter, ugh.
Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. The good thing about Irish is you trade for bogs, so we can handle that anyway.
Right, so you did a time of 92 hours, 42 minutes and 30 seconds. Did you? And wow.
Yeah, it's hard going, to say the least. Yeah, and that's at a pretty steady pace, to say the least.
So tell me how you came to do this kind of thing.
Well, I suppose it goes way back when I was fell in with a bunch of people who were into hill walking, and they dragged me out hill walking in my early teens, and that gradually grew into I met another bunch who were into hill running, and joined them, and I was discovering that the longer I went for events, the more competitive I got, and unfortunately I've yet to find the limits, so I'm doing these really long, really arduous things because that's where I'm at my most competitive.
Right. And you've a double title here now. Could they do this in the summer as well, do they?
They do. That's the more leisurely version, I suppose, in the sense that you don't have to deal with all the rain, the wind, darkness, and so on. So there is a summer version, which is more direct fun, I suppose you'd call it. And yeah, I won the summer version last year, which was the first time. Oh, so
you won this thing twice in 6 months then?
Yeah, two different versions. The winter one's considered the real race because it's a tough one. You've got everything is thrown at you in the winter race.
Like across those 92 hours and 42 minutes, what did you experience?
You're running on stone slabs, which are occasionally covered in ice. You're running across the open mountains. We actually had a full blue sky sunshine day, which was most unusual in the spine race. Quite often the race gets named after the worst weather, like the windy year or the snowy year or we had storms last year, named storms. So you always get a bit of everything. But this year was relatively
You'd run during a storm, like?
Oh yeah. Last year or 2 years ago, more accurately, it was cancelled last year. We had Storm Brendan in the middle of it, which was driving the rain sideways into us as we were heading for Tan Hill Inn, which is Britain's highest pub. I remember arriving into the pub just thinking, I'm putting every bit of gear I have on when I'm leaving here, because it was extreme.
Hang on, I remember Storm Brendan. I got in out of it, closed the door, and lit the fire. And you were running on a mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, we were running in the middle of the race at that stage, and just took a half-hour break to put all the clothes on and warm up a little, and headed back out into it again in the worst of the bogs as it happens.
And I put this. I'm sorry now, but if I'm in the middle of that and I find a pub, I ain't leaving.
Yeah, well, that's where it takes some mental toughness. You actually go in and you say, I'm not going near the fire, and I'm not getting too comfortable because I'll never get back out again.
Is that the pub I read about that got completely cut off recently?
That's the one. God. Yeah, people got trapped in for 2 or 3 days. It's a lovely place, actually.
I'd say it is. So, how far ahead of second place were you?
About 2 or 3 hours. And I'd been running with them quite a bit. There was joint second, and I was running with them quite a bit earlier in the race, but there was always a bit of back and forth. We were within sight of each other for a day or two, actually, literally within sight. But I just managed to get a bit of a gap in them in the last 24, 36 hours, kind of, and get far enough in front. But it was people in front of me were dropping out because. At one stage I was in 5th or 6th, but a lot of the leaders were dropping out because they were picking up injuries or running themselves into exhaustion and various things. So it's kind of like the tortoise and the hare, it's not just who's fastest, because I wasn't fastest, but who can last the whole thing and get there in the end that's fastest. So they were asking me coming in.
How do you train for something like this?
I live near the hills, so I go out and I run in the hills quite often, and I do like we consider very heavy marathon training is what it looks like, plus a bit of cycling thrown in as well. So just a general fitness lifestyle, but that's part of the enjoyment, because I really enjoy going out running in the hills, and I take part in the local hill races here. We have a great hill running scene in Ireland, and there's a great one in Munster, indeed. With a great community going out organising hill races, and being part of that, it's really good, and that's
so
a lot of
it. What's the next plan for you then?
Well, I have another race in April which actually goes across England, which is called the Northern Traverse, and it runs from coast to coast. And that hasn't been on in 2 or 3 years again because of COVID. But I won the last edition of that, so I'll be going back to try and win that one again.
That goes coast to coast.
That's more benign. That's coast to coast, yeah. It's a bit shorter, but it's a lovely one as well, because it hits Lake District again and Peak District and Yorkshire Dales, so nice.
You're getting very familiar with that pub.
It goes close enough, doesn't quite go into it, but just about over the horizon, yeah.
There's that lunatic from Cobh again.
That's it.
Oh, listen, Ian, congratulations on all the wins, and good luck for the future. And
thank you very much.
You are, as they say, a hardy man.
Thanks very much.
Cheers. Timmy Murphy's in Cobh. He says, congratulations, epic adventure, an amazing guy. Lovely fella too. That's Ian, spelt like Owen, but Eoin Keith, winner of the Montane Spine Race in the UK, the summer one and now the winter one. And he's heading off coast to coast in April. And he won that the last time I was on as well.